Walls are spatial elements that create boundaries and encounters for our everyday practice in the city. They draw the limits of property's ownership and are part of the borders between the private and the public. These huge areas in the city have regulation that defines who can use it, what for, and in which part of the city it could be used. Each city defines these regulations according to the social, political, and economic system it has. Walls have visual language through which a common culture is created. In the current socio-economic system, walls are claimed through regulations by the state and the market. Any other use of the walls outside this regulation frame is considered vandalism. Reclaiming walls by other actors who are excluded through regulations represent a type of resistance moment in the city, especially when this commonwealth is faced with enclosure in the form of privatization. This resistance is practiced by redefining the commons through the reproduced goods, such as knowledge, language, codes, and information, which is shaped by the practice of commoning. In Berlin, walls are an important resource for out-of-door marketing because of the following points. First, 84.5% of Berlin residents are on the go away from home every day. Second, 3.56 million passenger trips a day in local transport. And third, 7.9 million people visit Berlin each year. The formal users are, but not limited, first the authorities, and second, the owners who have the right to rent the walls after the authority approve. Third, the advertising corporation, who own outdoor advertising products of panels, columns, street furniture, etc., to invest it, and they are a dominant actor. And lastly, there's the advertisers, which can be private companies using walls for their marketing campaigns, politicians using walls as a media and communication tools in their campaigns and elections, cultural institutions using walls to inform about events and cultural activities, and organizations using walls to spread their campaigns. And apart from the pure vandalism, there is also subvertiser, who are informal users using the advertising material for subvertising and ads busting, and also writers and street artists who are using the walls for graffiti work. The last actors face legal consequences of penalty or jail time because of their acts of informality. Mainly, any side who wants to get these platforms formally has to go through the advertising corporation which exists in the city. In the following, I will discuss 3 types of these users who are trying to reclaim their right to use this platform. The first actors are the organizations who use walls culture as a tactical space to reach new political vocabulary. An example of that is an artistic organization called Politische Schönheit. They initiate projects to make a statement on social justice. Their project, 25.000 Euro gegen deutsche Waffenhändler, had a big influence on preventing an arms deal between the German company KMW and Saudi Arabia in 2012, through a big crowdsourcing in Germany with plates, posters, online platforms, and data collecting. Walls were used legally to initiate this crowdsourcing and to create a new understanding of what misinformation in our lives mean. Their campaigns succeeded because they introduced the owners of the company, who are artists, photographers, teachers, and psychologists, who should be responsible of selling weapons to criminal regimes. The second actors are subvertisers. They don't get involved in the system of renting the platform to state what they want to say, but they use the advertising material as a resource to create a political or social statement. Subvertising, which is a combination of subverts and advertising, refers to the practice of making spoofs of commercial or political advertisements. The principle is oriented against the consuming culture. It's considered vandalism. Many examples are in Berlin street, like campaigns against the political parties during election, and also private companies' advertisements. The third actors are the writers, as they call themselves, and they create graffiti and street art. It is still illegal in most of the European countries, and it's also considered theoretically as a concern to the urban life, and also vandalism work. It's a dynamic participation on walls, and every day there is a new graffiti somewhere in the city. Most of their works are documented through websites, blogs, and video channels, but they keep their real identity hidden to avoid trial. European cities have different policies of dealing with graffiti. Some cities try to create legal yards for writers, and others have strict policy of clearing any graffiti work. The anti-graffiti movements insist on calling graffiti as a crime. Graffiti aims to state rebel and radical messages, but still it's used by the new marketing policies, which most of the writers don't like, because it delivers contradictory messages about graffiti. Berlin, for example, which has an important graffiti scene in Europe, has a tolerant policy regarding graffiti for two main reasons. First, its marketing policy about the creative city, and second, because graffiti in Berlin attracts tourists, which bring money for the city in debt. The graffiti was used in one of the recent BVG marketing campaigns, which the writers of Berlin debate in their online platforms. Commercial users also use graffiti in their marketing as a cool lifestyle with graffiti-style promotion, and some local businesses use that to market their places in Kreuzberg. One of the most famous graffiti work in Berlin scene, in Curvestrasse, for artist Blue, which was created in 2008 to represent Berlin's struggle during its first few years of reunification, was painted black in 2014 by Anonymous, claiming that this represents Blue's well, after he knew about the new residence complex on the same plot. The statement was, Berlin is not the same anymore, that the real estate company will just use the artwork to sell apartments more expensive. A new statement needs to be made. Blue finds this act as a resistance and a tactic to resist the graffiti work which was claimed by the market again. These works create resistance moments in the city. It's not what is written there what defines if it will stay or not. Actually, it's the money and the politics. The system decides what is informal and what is formal, and later decides which kind of this informality will have to vanish and what will stay. The right to use the walls culture is defined by regulation, which are controlled by the market. How tolerant the regulation to these works is also related to the money. One of the greatest potential of the wall's common culture is the relation to new political imaginaries and alternatives to the system which regulate it.